guest, Gene Munster. For the last 21 years, we've been able to say Gene Munster of Piper Jaffray, but no more. Gene Munster, how's it feel? Loup Ventures, your new venture as of this morning.
Feels good. Feels like something to start the new year out. I'm very thankful for Piper. They've been a huge supporter. They're also an investor in the fund. And so that part is hard. Leaving people that really mean a lot to me is a hard part.
And yet, when we talked about what you're doing here now that it's out in the open, you're taking a very interesting research-driven approach to venture capital. Talk to me about what that's going to be.
Well, we're going to keep doing what we do really well, which is research, and that's what we've done as sell-side analysts.
Because some of the same teams coming with you, right?
Exactly. Doug Clinton and Andrew Murphy were two longtime associates of mine, and so they're joining me. And we're going to keep doing that, and we're going to keep driving insights in terms of these four major themes, which we're calling the future perfect. And this is an absolutely fantastic future that has to do with virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And so what is unique about Loup Ventures is our ability to continue to do research, publish that research at Loup Venture, and
publish
really,
it, even though you're on the venture side.
That's right. So we're going to be showing our work, as we like to say. And so today, Loup Ventures launched, and you can see we'll be doing about 3 research notes a week, which is a similar pace that I've always kind of published over years as the sell-side analyst. So we're going to keep doing that, keep doing our feet on the street kind of fundamental research. And like, for example, today we have a post, or we call it the VR Excitement Index, where we go and we surveyed 500 people across the country and asked what their interest level in VR was. It's low, which is expected. It's about 10% today, but that's something that we're going to track over time. And so those are the type of things that we're going to be doing different than a typical operational VC.
Gene, when you talk about virtual reality and VR, we all have kind of conceptions about what it will mean and how it will impact the world. How do you see it impacting the world and how that might shape your investments?
Well, the world's going to change dramatically, and we think the combination of these 4 themes are going to be a more dramatic change than mobile was or the internet was. And we think over time, 70% of jobs, for example, will go away. So how we work and interact is going to be very different. Specifically about VR, that's something that we have a different opinion than most. Most people think that VR is not going to be as significant as augmented reality, but we think VR will be more significant as it becomes indistinguishable between the virtual and the real worlds. We think people will want to teleport and experience anything that they want at any time. And so how this is going to impact it, it's going to be radical from just one-on-one interactions to how we work.
It's interesting too, the notion. So, how are you structuring the fund in terms of the size of the fund, what round of investments you're going to try to get into, and so on?
So all I can say is that it's a small fund, and we're going to be focusing on seed stage. So this is typically an entrepreneur with an idea and some technology, potentially a patent, and we're going to probably be doing about 30 of those type of investments. So these are seed stage investments in those 4 themes.
So when you talk about,
go ahead, Carl.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I want to go back to what you say. You know, you see virtual reality kind of different and how people can kind of teleport. It's not just you're talking about, I don't know, somebody who wants to go and be in Spain at this moment and, you know, for tourism. You're talking about kind of real practical usages.
Yeah, there is. In this research that we published today, you can see that the way people are using VR today, it's going to evolve over time. But surprisingly, the #1 area was just pure entertainment. So it could be something like somebody doing a 360 walkthrough from a Civil War battlefield. The second is education, something that really shouldn't be use humans' time. Amazon's been doing a lot of that in their fulfillment centers, using VR for education. And then the third is games. Most people think VR is all about gaming. Gaming is going to be an important part, but those are some examples of how VR isn't just about a crude gaming experience today and how that can evolve over time.
Now I see you all the time here. I see you all the time in New York, but you're based in Minnesota. And are you going to keep that base? Does that give you an advantage? Because there are so many public companies in the Twin Cities area, but a lot of great ideas too.
We're going to stay in Minneapolis. It's myself and Andrew are going to be in Minneapolis. Doug Clinton is going to be based in New York. And we're still going to continue to look for the best companies across all of the U.S. So we're still going to travel and find those companies. And there may be even some companies outside of the U.S. that we're going to invest in.
Hey, Gene, I'm also curious, you know the well-known tech companies, the big tech companies that are out there. Are you going to be working with them on investments as well?
Well, we're going to continue to write research on the 6 major tech companies that we've covered in the past. And the 4 primaries would be Amazon, Apple, Google, and Facebook. And so, how we interact with those companies in the future remains to be seen. Typically, VCs do have some level of an interaction, but that's today is our first day, and so we're gonna see how that evolves over time.
Why waste your time covering these companies? There's so much work goes into it. I mean, I've been with you outside of the iPhone launches, watching you count the number of people in line and see how long it compares to the last one. And I mean, why do that level of research covering a company like Apple if you're looking at these businesses that are not very important to Apple, like presently, AI, robotics, so on?
Specifically to Apple, we think that is going to be a critical player in all four of those themes. And so it's important that we have a good sense in terms of what's going on with Apple. We think Apple is going to reinvent itself in the next 10 years. We think the concept of an iPhone is going to go away. And it may be called an iPhone, but it's not going to be a sheet of aluminum and glass in your pocket. And so in order to get these themes, to really nail these themes, we got to still nail our coverage on these larger companies.